Good morning, everybody. Matt Modi here to give you my favorite NBA player prop picks for today. We're talking Saturday, January 4th. The splash zone is back in your life. Granted, we have not been splashing around. We have not been getting wet recently. It's been a 4-day slump that we are on, and it's just been an absolutely brutal slump. That unfortunately continued yesterday. Only one of my plays cashed yesterday. Luckily, we did ladder it, so that was able to minimize the damage a little bit. But a pretty brutal day overall. Cade Cunningham had 5 rebounds entering the fourth quarter, but he picked up his 5th foul in the fourth quarter, so he played limited minutes. We get hooked there. Austin Reeves had been on fire recently, probably should have been a little bit scared off of that one. We get hooked on his RA. Doesn't even come close to the double-double. And then we also, Malik Beasley, he only scored 12 points, so that one didn't come close. He shot 1 of 10 from 3. It happens. And then a couple other plays just didn't even come close. Pretty brutal day overall, down over 3.5 units. Now on the entire season, that unfortunately brings us down to a loss. We are now down on the year, down a little bit less than a unit. We had such an insane run between Christmas and New Year's, and now we've just basically blew it over the last couple days. Obviously, I'm not going to hide behind that. I'm not going to pretend anything different. It's just been pretty brutal. Unfortunately, that's just kind of the way things go. Hopefully, we can turn it around. Today, I have 5 picks for you guys, one of which is being laddered to pretty juicy odds. So hopefully, we can have a good one, turn things around. Would appreciate it if you could like the video, comment, subscribe. If you're still rocking with me, I appreciate you guys. I know things have been rough. Just kind of the way that things fall. We have some bad luck. We have some good luck. It's been a lot more bad luck recently. Again, hopefully, we can turn it around with my 5 plays. Now, I'm doing things a little bit differently. I'm going to share my screen and kind of walk you through the plays and why I like them as opposed to just telling you. I'm actually going to show you. The website I'm using here is Props Madness. That's what I used for all of my picks today. Incredible website. If you're interested in signing up, check out the link is in the description of the video. If you do sign up, it would help me out if you could use my promo code MODI to help support the channel. But do what you want. I'm not your mom. So the first play that we're locking in here is Joel Embiid over 29.5 points. Now, FanDuel isn't listed on this, on this sheet. You can actually get this at plus 100 at FanDuel. So the play here is Joel Embiid, 30 plus points, plus 100 at FanDuel. Now, on the entire season, things look pretty gross. He's only averaging 24 points per game. He's only hit 30 points in 5 of 12. But you kind of got to look at the season and how things have gone. First of all, played 14 minutes, played 17 minutes. You can take those out. Unless he gets hurt, he's going to play at least 20 minutes. So if we just limit the data for 20 minutes or more, it's a little bit better. 5 of 10 hit rate, 27 points per game. But he's been much better after a terrible start. I mean, look at his first 3 games. 13 points, 20 points, 11 points. Awful. If we take those out and we just look at his last 7 games, now things start to look a lot more like the Joel Embiid that we are used to, averaging 30 points in his last 7 games, hit 30 or more points in 5 of 7. In the 2 games that he went under, 28 points in a game that they just got annihilated, lost by 34 points, as you can see, and 27 points in a pretty good big win against the Celtics. And then the other ones, 35, 31, 34, 32, and 37. So if you'll allow me to limit the minutes to 20 or more, because again, he's going to play 20 minutes unless he gets hurt, and we can't predict injuries. And you take out the first 3 games where he really struggled, things look a lot better for Embiid, and the matchup is phenomenal against the Nets as well. So another thing that you can do on Props Madness is look at the play types and then look at how teams defend those play types. And as we can see, Joel Embiid scores the majority of his points at the free throw line. The Nets give up a ton of points at the line. Now, they don't give up a lot of points to the roll man, but it's because they foul a lot, right? Like, technically, if Embiid runs a pick and roll and gets fouled, those points will get attributed to free throws as opposed to the roll man. So, the Nets are still an above average defense guarding the pick and roll man, but those numbers are a little bit different because of how frequently they foul. And then look at post-ups. I mean, they're the worst post-up defense in the entire NBA. Embiid scores 20% about of his points via post-ups. And they're just going to post him up a ton, and he's probably going to have a lot of success doing so. Only 3 players, it looks like, per Props Madness have, with a similar scoring profile to Embiid, have played the Nets. 3 of them went over. Bam scored 23 points against them. Over-under was 17.5. Jokic scored 29 points against them. Over-under was 27.5. And the only one that went under was Domantas Sabonis, who only scored 13 points. But overall, things look pretty good for Embiid. Another thing that you can do on Props Madness is you can look at like opponent rank versus like how they defend his play type versus how they defend certain areas. And as we can see, Embiid scores the majority of his points in the paint. They're with like 9th worst defense guarding the paint, so not terrible. But if we look at just bottom 10 teams that he's played in terms of points in the paint, again, it's only been 3 matchups, so, take that with a grain of salt. But it's over in all 3, 31 points, 34, 37. These are bottom 10 defenses guarding the restricted area, which, again, is where Embiid scores the majority of his points. So I think there's a lot of reasons to like this matchup for Joel Embiid. This is our first official bet of the video. Joel Embiid, 30-plus points. The next one that I'm locking in here is Pascal Siakam. So I took him 20-plus points. You can get this at plus 115 odds at ESPN Bet. So you can't look at main lines on Props Madness, but I took him 20-plus. If you wanted to be safe, there's a book called Ladbrokes, which I've never heard of. You could take over 17.5, or you could take over 18.5 and get that at minus 115 at Fliff. Again, I took 20-plus points. That was my official bet. Honestly, the reason why this is a play, number one thing that I love to do is I call it fade recent results. He's only hit this number in 1 of his last 4 games. I mean, 18 points, 17 points, and 14 wasn't like he was terrible, but he did not hit 20. Granted, those are all tough matchups. I mean, the Heat don't allow a lot of points to someone like Siakam, who scores mostly on the interior. Same with the Celtics, who's both of those games he went under against the Celtics. But, we look at after these last 4 games, he cashed it in 5 of 6. In the 1 game he did not cash, he still scored 19 points. Then he had a slow stretch, then he had a hot stretch. So that's just kind of the nature of the beast when you're betting the NBA. I really try to look for situations, or I call them fade recent results, buy low, positive regression, whatever you want to call it. I like to find situations like this. And if we just take a step back, he's averaging about 20 points on the season. He's averaging about 20 points in the graph that I'm looking at as well. And he's hit 20 points in just under 60% of his games. Now, the play types would not make it look like the Suns are that juicy of a matchup, right? 13th in terms of transition, 15th via post-up, only the 5th fewest points to spot-up shooters. They're not a bottom 10 matchup in any play type except for pick-and-roll ball handler, which is like a fraction of a percentage of the points that Siakam scores. But if we look at players with similar point scoring profiles on Props Madness, we can see 12 of 15 players with a scoring profile similar to Siakam have hit their over, an 80% hit rate. They hit their over by an average of 27 points and almost 5 points above what their over-under is priced at. And just look at some of these players and what they did against the Suns. Jaren Jackson Jr., 38 points. Then, Wiggins went under. Kuminga, 34 points. His over-under was 16.5. And then Tobias went under. But, and this is important, Pascal Siakam scored 25 points against them. His over-under was 19.5. And we can see that game right here, scored 25 points against them. And nobody that important was missing. You can see the players missing. It was Naismith who's out, and the other 2 guys are out as well. So it wasn't like a scorer was out for that game, and that's why he scored a lot. It was just a good matchup for him. So everything this bet just kind of checks every box. The play type, the player profile is there. The overall season hit rate is there, and we get to positive regression, fade recent results, all that stuff as well. So play number 2 is Pascal Siakam, 20-plus points. Now we are going to head to the Bucks versus Blazers game, and I'm actually going to have 2 bets in this game. The first one that we are betting is Damian Lillard. I took him 25-plus points. You can also get this at plus 115 odds at BetMGM. So right now we see BetMGM we only see on the screen here the over 23.5, but you can get 25-plus at plus 115 odds. This is another one that I like for honestly a lot of the similar reasons that I like the Pascal Siakam. Number one, he's averaging 25 points on the season. He's gone over in 15 of 26 games. But we do get a little bit of a positive regression. I mean, he's missed this in 3 of his last 4 games. But look, 23 points. So 2 of them, he was right there. I mean, 1 basket away. And the Nets was not that tough of a matchup, but he just shot horribly. I mean, we see 6 of 20 from the field, 4 of 13 from 3. Also shot horribly in the other game, 3 of 9 from 3, 3 of 14 from the field. So the only points he scored were at the 3-point line. Prior to that, he had cashed it in, 8 of his last 10 games? I mean, he had an insane run where he was cashing the over. Then he missed it in 3 out of 4 games. That's fine. He had a stretch like this where he missed it in 5 straight games and then cashed it in 5 straight games. That's just the nature of the business. But the matchup is there. It's kind of similar to the Embiid thing, where you see they're kind of middle of the pack in terms of points they give up to pick and roll ball handlers, but they give up the fourth most points via free throws, and not every other, in the next three play types, all look really good for Dame. I mean, they give up the 23rd, so that this would be the eighth most points per game via isolation, the second most points per game via transition, and the ninth most points per game via spot up. So really, the only one that doesn't look like a bottom 10 matchup for Dame is the pick and roll ball handler, but the other four are good. And if you're getting the free throw line, you're not scoring as the ball handler. So that stuff is kind of nothing to be scared of in terms of the play type and all that stuff. And then we look here, similar player points against the Blazers, 6 of 10 hits, so 60% hit rate isn't amazing. But when players go over, they go over by about 2.5 points above their over under. Murray put up 24 against them. Luka hit it in one, missed it in the other. Anthony Edwards hit it in one, missed it in the next two. But these are back-to-back games, just a weird stretch for Anthony Edwards. Trae Young put up 29 against them, and his scoring's been hit or miss. Same thing with Halliburton. He put up 28 against them, and his scoring's been hit or miss. And then Fox cashed his over-under in one, missed it in the other, but we see the numbers way higher. I mean, 28.5 versus 22.5. So I like this a lot for Damian Lillard. He did cash this in both games against them last year. If we go to head-to-head and we go to last season, 31 and 25 points. We get the revenge factor. I don't know if that really matters or not a couple years after the fact that he's been traded. So I figured I would mention that, but it's not something that I'm actually making any betting decisions off of. So that's our third play. Next up, I said I had one in the same game, and we're going Denny Avia, and we're going over his points, rebounds, and assists. Now, in this case, you can see we're absolutely not fading recent results in this one. He's cashed this in 5 straight games. The only reason why I feel comfortable still betting it, even though he's cashed it in 5 straight games, is because I just don't think the books have adjusted with Jeremy Grant out of the lineup. And that's the most important thing here. Jeremy Grant is out for this game. And as you can see, he's cashed this in all 4 games without Jeremy Grant, and he's annihilated the over as well. I mean, I should say the play is the over-under, over 24.5 points, rebounds, assists, minus 115 at Bet365. This is the exact bet that I took. And again, look at the times. Only one of them was he really even close, and it wasn't like he hit it by the hook either. I mean, he scored 17 points, had 7 rebounds, and 2 assists, 26 combined, and then 28, 34, 33. He's averaging 30 points, rebounds, assists without Jeremy Grant in the lineup. And the matchup against the Bucks is fine. It's not amazing. It's not terrible either. I mean, spot up, they're average. Transition, they're slightly below average. Free throws, slightly above average. Pick and roll ball handler, slightly below average. And that's the top 4 in terms of his play types. And if we just look at like some of his potentials in these games without Jeremy Grant, that's what sold me. I mean, we see 7 assists, more importantly, on 14 potential assists. We see 13 potential assists. Now, only 8 in this one, so it's a little bit lower, but he converted 2, so he had a low conversion rate. And then 7 potential assists. And then if you go to rebounds, 19 rebound chances, 14 rebound chances, and then 8, so that's a smaller one, and then 15. So he's had double-digit rebound chances in 3 of the 4, and in the one he didn't, he still had 7 rebounds. He's also, you can see his rebound prop at 6.5 at plus 114 odds. I think that's a worthy play as well. If you didn't want to take the PRA, my advice would be to take the rebounds over under 6.5 at plus 114. I just thought the PRA was a lot safer, which is why I ended up going with it. So this was my 4th pick of the video. And then the 5th and final one that I locked in here, we're heading to the Knicks versus Bulls game. I took Karl Anthony Towns, and I actually took him on a ladder play. So I took him over 23.5 points at minus 120 odds at Bet365, as you can see right here. I also took him 30 plus points for a half unit at Bet365 as well. And all these bets will be listed at the end of the video. So that's what I ended up going with here. And really, what this is this is a play because of the matchup. I mean, look at the Bulls here. If we highlight the matchup, so I'm trying to point. You can't see it. I can't hover over it because it changes. But the first thing you see under opponent stats, defensive rank during against his play type. That would be against the pick and roll man. That's how he scores the majority of his points in terms of play type. 30th. Literally the worst defense in the NBA, guarding the pick and roll man. Let's go one below that. The defensive rank versus DSZ. That's just his shot chart where he scores a majority of his points, which is in the restricted area. The worst defense in the NFL, in the NBA. I'm still on the NFL mind. In the NBA, guarding the restricted area. And we just go down the list. Defensive rating, 24th, 7th worst defense in the NBA. Pace, second. They play the second fastest pace in the NBA. It's just a beautiful matchup across the board for Karl Anthony Towns to score. And this is another like a hit rate kind of thing. He's averaging 24.7 points in the season, 25 versus the actual games that I'm looking at. He's hit 24 or more points in 16 of 29 games. Now, the thing that's scary is he's coming off of a back-to-back in which he played 42 minutes. Now, that's a lot of minutes to be playing the next day. Now, they are home. So they did, no, they're not home. They're away. Sorry, I mixed that up. So they are away. So that's another thing that makes it a little bit scarier. But he's played well in back-to-backs. I mean, obviously, this isn't me saying like, oh, he's a bet-on player when playing on back-to-backs, but he's been playing well, like 46, 24, 30 points on back-to-backs. And look at the matchups. I mean, those all happen to be incredibly juicy matchups. Either the Wizards, an amazing matchup. He hit this in both back-to-backs against the Wizards. And then he did it against the Bulls. They actually lost this game, and he played 39 minutes, but he scored 46 points. So the back-to-back thing is scary, but he's played well in back-to-backs. And if we just look at bottom 10 defenses, both guarding pick and roll man and guarding the restricted area, so we just kind of look at both, he's hit it in 5 of 9 games, so it's not amazing. But look at the games he's gone over. This is why I'm laddering him to 30 points. 34, 30, 46, 30, and 32. So basically, if he's going over 23.5 points, he's probably scoring 30 points as well, because only once did he score exactly 24. So it's actually 6 of 9 games that he's hit the over 23.5, which is what we are betting. So that's why we went with Karl Anthony Towns. And then look, players with a similar scoring profile, 4 of 5 have hit their over. Porzingis went over. The only one that went under was Turner, who didn't have a terrible game. I mean, he scored 15 points. His over-under was 16.5. That's still an under, but it's not terrible. And then the other ones, Porzingis again, crazy over. Karl Anthony Towns, crazy over. Chet Holmgren, not crazy, just hit the over. So Karl Anthony Towns, both over 23.5 and 30 plus points as my 5th and final pick of the video. And while we're here, I might as well give you a couple leans that I liked as well, plays that I did not officially bet. So whether these hit or miss, I'm not going to claim victory one way or another, but just to kind of show you plays that I liked. Andrew Nembhard, 4+ rebounds was a play that I did look at. You can get really juicy odds on that. We can see like plus 128, plus 125 on the 4+ rebounds. This is a play, no Aaron Nesmith, and he's been better rebounding without Aaron Nesmith. I missed it in the first 4 games. So if we just take those out, look at his last 11 games without Aaron Nesmith, hit it in 7 of 11 games, averaging over 4 rebounds in that stretch as well. Now, he did miss it against the Suns, which is another kind of scary thing about this one. But this is all a play on the matchup. The Suns take a ton of jump shots. They're the most heavy jump shot shooting team in the entire NBA. They take the least amount of shots within 5 feet from the basket. Long shots lead to long rebounds. Andrew Nembhard is a guard, so someone that can collect those long rebounds. And to kind of give you guys some point in my favor, 9 of 15 players with a similar rebounding profile to Andrew Nembhard have hit their rebound prop over against the Suns. And, one that missed, Desmond Bane, and this was frustrating because I bet Desmond Bane. This is one of my losses. He only had 5 rebounds. His over-under was 6.5. But look in that same game. Luke Kennard had 7. John Conchar had 12. Both of them annihilated their over. 2 of those rebounds go to Bane. They both hit their over, and so does Bane. And then we just go down the list. I mean, Clay hit it. Christian Brown hit it in back-to-back games. Benedict Mathurin did miss it. Shaedon Sharpe hit it. So it's a good matchup. I didn't bet it because I already had Siakam in this game, and betting on 2 players in the same game is a little bit weird, but I do think that's a good look. I didn't bet this one either because I already have 2 bets in this game, but Giannis, 30+ points, I think is a good look. You could get pretty decent odds on over 29.5, like minus 120 is probably the best offered price. Missed this last game against the Nets, but it's just an excellent matchup. I mean, scores the majority of his points via transition, 2nd worst defense. Scores the 2nd most of his points at the free throw line. They foul at the 4th highest rate. Via isolation, 8th worst ISO defense. It's a phenomenal matchup, and you just kind of hover over here. I mean, 29th versus his play type, 26th versus his shot zone, which is in the restricted area. And they have the 4th worst defense in the NBA. So if we just look at the matchups, like teams that are just bottom 10 in terms of guarding transition, hit rate's not amazing. He's averaging about 30 points. Granted, that is below his average. But if we also look at teams that struggle to guard the restricted area, it's about the same, actually. It's actually worse. Sorry, it's actually worse. So Giannis is kind of just does it in good matchups or bad matchups. I didn't want both him and Dame, and I liked it a little bit better for Dame. But that is one that I do think is a good look. And then the other one that I thought was a good look, but that I didn't bet, was Luke Kennard over his points prop. And this is all because no Santi Aldama in the matchup was really good. I mean, he's hit this in 3 of 4 games over 10.5. And you can get this out like even money at some books or minus 115 at Bet365. He hit it last night, played 32 minutes, and that's also, while not even shooting that well, only 3 of 10 from the field. And it's a good matchup. Scores the majority of his points via spot up. The Warriors are the second worst spot up team in the entire NBA, and we see 10 of 15 players hit their point prop over against the Warriors. I just, he's hit it in 4 of his last 5 games. I just thought that there were better plays on the board, and I didn't want to have a ton of units outstanding, so I ended up not officially locking it in. But I do think it's a really good look, and that's all we got. 5 plays for you guys to lock in. Reminder, we're taking we're taking Damian Lillard, 25-plus points. Joel Embiid, 30-plus points. Denny Avia, over 24.5 points, rebounds, assists. Pascal Siakam, 20-plus points. And Karl Anthony Towns, over 23.5 and 30-plus points as our 5 picks of the video. We go 5-0 today. All the sins of yesterday are going to be erased and then some. So let's hope for that. Would appreciate it if you guys could like the video, comment, subscribe. Would appreciate it if you could check out Props Madness, because again, I think it's a phenomenal tool. I appreciate everybody for watching, and have a good one.